Hey everyone! Today's project is going to be this Boss Key flash drive keychain. The 21st of this month was the 30th anniversary of the Legend of Zelda games, and since I love these games so much, I decided what better way to celebrate than to make a Zelda-themed project. And if you couldn't tell, I am just in love with these clever kind of USB flash drive things. I made one last week that I'll leave right here if you want to check it out. It's a little necklace. This thing's pretty cool because when it's plugged into your computer, it looks like the key is like inserted into your computer, and I just think it looks pretty neat. So let's get started. You'll need gold polymer clay, a red translucent bead, a tiny USB flash drive. I'll leave an affiliate link to the one that I have in the description box down below. Saran wrap, a piece of plastic. I cut mine out of just some packaging from something I bought the other day. An eye pin, 2-part epoxy, keychain chain, a utility knife, toothpicks, and optional gold paint. Trace the edge of your USB onto the plastic and cut it out. This will be a barrier to help keep the clay from sticking to the other half as you're working on the key. Cover both pieces of the flash drive with saran wrap and stick them through the plastic. I worked on this key at the same time as I did the USB necklace, and this part was filmed before I realized how much easier saran wrap would make this process, so that's why you'll notice a lack of saran wrap in some of this footage. Anyway, on the cover side of the USB, stick a piece of clay that's a bit long like so. This is going to be the majority of the shaft of the key. Cover the other side of the USB with a little bit of clay, making it the same width as the clay on the other side. Roll out some clay, cut the sides off and square off one of the ends, then cut it in half lengthwise. Stick these pieces around the edge of the key where they meet, cutting the excess clay off. I also added another thin snake of clay a little bit further down the shaft, but I ended up ultimately leaving that part out when I had to remake this part later with saran wrap wrapped around the USB. I also ended up shortening it a little bit. Anyway, sculpt the pieces of clay to make the teeth of the key. Coincidentally, the shape of these things look like teeth. To do this, I kind of made a teardrop-like shape, then I bent the tip a little bit and flattened the bigger end. I also flattened the whole thing a little bit. You don't want it to be too thin, but you want it to be thinner than the width of the shaft, and this will give you a kind of fang-like shape. Make another, smaller one. Stick them to the shaft of the key, smaller one sort of in the middle, and bigger one on the outside like this. I used a toothpick to help smooth out the edges here. Roll a big ball of clay and flatten it out until it's the same width as the shaft. Cut it into a circle. I used the lid of some paint that I had laying around to help me out. It was the perfect size to look proportional to the rest of the key. Cut a circle into the middle of this disc to be about as big as the bead. If it's too small, just stick a pen in the hole or use your finger and kind of roll it slightly to help enlarge the hole. Roll a thin piece of clay and lay it over the disc. Flip it over and cut around the circle and cut out the inner circle. Smooth the edges. Cut a large eye shape into the clay, cutting at least as deep as the layer of the clay is. Cut 2 V's on either side of the eye, and then connect them like so. Remove the clay from these parts of the design. Use a toothpick to help you get these extra bits of clay out. Push down on the design slightly to make sure it's stuck pretty good. Use a toothpick or something similar to create a circle around the edge. Flip over and repeat on the other side. Be sure to make it match the other side. Mine was slightly off, so when you flip it over, the eye looks kind of crooked. Oh well, that's how you know it's handmade. Attach this to the rest of the key, being careful not to smush your design. Roll out some clay about the same thickness as you made the teeth of the key. Cut 2 triangles and attach them to either side of the key, making them look like horns. Again, I used a toothpick to help smooth out the edges. Stick the eye pin in at the top of the eye and down through the middle, like this. Carefully remove the flash drive and the saran wrap from each side. And then bake according to the clay's instructions. And here they are, all baked. You may want to test fit them at this point, but I was being a little rebellious and I just went straight to epoxying. If you find either part doesn't fit, you can use a utility knife to make the hole bigger. Someone mentioned in my last video that polymer clay actually does shrink a little bit. I guess it's not really enough to tell by eye, but it can affect how the USB pieces fit into the baked clay. So I first epoxied the top part of the key, which fit nicely. And then, to make sure everything fit nicely, I stuck the cover onto the already cured top piece, applied the epoxy into the shaft piece, and then shoved it onto the cover, making sure to line up the key so it was straight. And since I didn't test fit and just shoved this on, I got a big old crack. Luckily, I was able to just squeeze these parts together until the epoxy cured. So once that's all cured, you can attach the bead. Pop the bead in place, mine was a tight fit, and then thread the eye pin in and through the bead, holding it in place. And then add a dab of epoxy to the top of the eye pin. You could add it around the bead and stuff if you wanted, but I wanted the bead to be able to spin around. I wasn't happy with this gold clay color, so I ended up painting it with some gold craft paint that I had, and I think that it looks much better. Here you can see how the bead glows when the light hits it just right. Now, just attach it to a keychain ring, and then you're done. I hope you all enjoyed this project. If you did, please leave a like, and if you want to see more, then feel free to subscribe. I post art videos every Tuesday and DIY videos every Thursday. You can follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, or Pinterest, and I'll leave the information to those down below. If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, please leave a comment down below, and I'll see you next week.